Hi, Brother Kilaji. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I was just going through your proposal, and uh, it caters for the requirements. I'm trying to look at uh, the background information of the project or of the business that you selected, where you emphasized um, where you made the research about the business, having the number of employees and when it was established. You talked about the deployment model, which is very okay, which is hybrid, and then give the reasons as to why you prefer the hybrid model. Then you also included the service model, and here you incorporated both the infrastructures and the software. Then you looked at the design where you stressed on redundancy and high availability, disaster recovery, data compliancy. You looked at, you presented the infrastructure, very nice. Then you went ahead to look at the network connectivity, where you stress on the VPN, and then you identified the files that are stored on premise and files that can be migrated. And you also looked at the use of the DNS, the storage provider, where you considered the AWS, which uses S3, simple storage service, where you also looked at the Azure Blob Storage or the Google Cloud. Then looked at the updated diagram, which is very nice. And we looked at the framework, which clearly indicated how we gathered the information, the assessment, the design, and you continued. Then you catered for the baseline, which shows that you know really what you're trying to do. You looked for the feasibility study, which included the current infrastructures, trying to indicate where the business wants to go and where it is currently. Then you looked at the cost analysis, budget allocation. You looked at the gap analysis, which included the business, people, governance, platform security, and the rest. Then you also looked at the way you get the vendors, involving the capital expenditure, operating expenditure. You assess the vendors, that is the Microsoft Azure and then the Amazon server, the fixed and the variable, and you considered the proof of value, the pilot testing, which is very wonderful. Then you looked at the levels of performance, where you looked at the uptime grant, and then you looked at the compensation, that is the service credits, the migrations, principles, and so on. Then you looked at provisioning, the continuous integration, quality of assurance. You looked at the financial planning. That's what is so much important here, where you looked at how you'll be controlling your finances here. I liked the chargebacks, where if you have different departments, can be so much helpful. Then you looked at the instances, where you preferred using the reserve instances, the type of license, and so on. Then the storage pricing, you looked at the network costs and so on. Yeah, your presentation was okay. You're audible enough, and then your video was 50 factors, which is wonderful. Thank you so much.